Hey everybody, it's Tatiana and welcome back to the Tatiana Show. We have a special edition today from Distributed Markets out in Chicago, talking with different people here at the conference. And one of the new people that I've become friends with is Maxwell Sanchez. Maxwell is working on Veriblock, which is proof of proof, which was a concept I had never heard about, and now I vaguely understand, which is a miracle. So that's been really fun. I've been learning all about it. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Very good. So, tell people out there what is proof of proof, and tell me a little bit about your project. I'd love to hear it.
Sure, I'd love to. So proof of proof is a new consensus protocol that Justin Fisher and I invented a little over 2 years ago. And what proof of proof allows you to do is to take any blockchain regardless of the consensus protocol it uses. You've heard about proof of work, proof of stake, proof of capacity is one of the ones we're really excited about in 2018. No matter what consensus protocol any blockchain uses, and they might have a block time of 2 minutes or 5 or 10 or 50, however they're architected, they're able to inherit the full proof-of-work security of a highly secure blockchain like, for example, Bitcoin. So right now, Bitcoin has more computational power than 500 of the world's top supercomputers combined, and blockchains that are just starting out might have 10 GPU miners in their bedroom, and so, or a few members participating in proof-of-stake. And so these networks, as they're starting out, or even as they've been out for years, but they have less adoption than Bitcoin or some of the other very, very large blockchains, they're able to use this process to inherit additional security to protect their network against people doing malicious activities on it, like double spends and other types of consensus attacks.
Wow, that's really neat. So I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you're very young to have gotten into this space. It's pretty cool. How did you get started?
Well, thank you. So I got started in late 2011, early 2012, when I first started really hearing about Bitcoin and dabbling in blockchain technology. Later in 2012, I started really taking it seriously. I started off by writing some mining software, optimizing GPU miners, writing user interfaces, which were terrible, but worked nonetheless for managing mining software. I wrote some other sorts of small utilities for the space. And then in 2014, I started a project called CureCoin, which was, and still is, a blockchain platform which incentivizes people to do computational research for universities, doing protein folding or other sort of biomedical simulations. Stanford University was the first project we worked with there, and the one that we're currently working with. And that evolved into me doing a really deep dive on what proof of work is, how it functions, and why it is so important. And that led into, in 2015, early 2015, I met Justin Fisher. And so we started on a project called RenderCoin in the early days, which was taking something similar to the CureCoin model for protein folding, but doing it for video rendering for movie studios. And the idea had some problems, and so we moved on to something called blockchain of custody, which was digital custodianship of evidence for law enforcement, 911 calls, things of that nature, on the blockchain to prevent evidence tampering. And that idea, we decided, is probably going to be commoditized, and we still have some ideas in that space to work on, and the brand is still alive, and we are launching something under that brand name at some point. But that evolved into, well, if you can take a digital photograph or a digital video and timestamp it to a blockchain and inherit that blockchain security, why can't you do that with a blockchain? Because a blockchain really is just digital evidence. And so for the next few months after having that epiphany, we started working on how to actually create an incentivization model where we could incentivize people on their own to invent a new form of mining which allows them to secure a blockchain to another blockchain, such as securing some sort of alt-chain to Bitcoin and therefore inheriting Bitcoin's proof-of-work security.
Wow. Sounds like quite an excessive thing. What's your favorite thing about working in this space?
The space, there's a lot of really cool people in the space, a lot of characters, a lot of, they always keep it interesting. And another thing I've always enjoyed about the space is people really love to teach. And there's always, you get all kinds, but generally speaking, people who have really cool ideas, they want to share them and they want to educate people about them. And it's a really good atmosphere for learning. And it's not always perfect, but there's always an opportunity to talk to people about technologies and collaborate on a lot of ideas. And open source certainly hasn't done anything to hurt that. So
wonderful. Well, listen, I think you're scheduled on an official show the next week or so we'll get a chance to talk about this more. But thank you so much for joining me. In the meantime, how can people get in touch with you and find out about more about Veriblock?
Sure. So Veriblock, if you want to follow the project, you can go to veriblock.org. That's our community website. We're also on Twitter under the name @Veriblock. And you can also reach us on our Telegram channel, which you can access from veriblock.org. If you want to stay in touch with the latest development updates and participate in our current testnet that we're running. And also there is a Bitcoin talk post called Veriblock, and it's by me. I'm on the forums Vorkscholk, Vorkshulk.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tatiana.